Welcome once again to the Ulster Grand Prix. First run in 1922, this is one of Northern Ireland's oldest and most famous sporting events. And what an awesome track it is. We've already seen the lap record smashed by Peter Hickman. Here is how it happened. Oh, Harrison and Hickman and Cummins, everyone away quite well. My goodness, it's Harrison who leads from Hickman.
Glorious afternoon. This is perfect racing weather.
Peter Hickman now leads from Dean Harrison. Peter Hickman across the line. Oh, and there it is. It's a new lap record, and he smashed it. He's smashed it by 2 seconds.
Peter Hickman is on fire.
136.4. And that's Dean Harrison who is trying. He is trying. Great ride again from Conor Cummins in third place.
Well, what a race this has turned out. Oh no.
And that is a red flag.
It's not what you want to see.
Fast. That's it. The Ulster Grand Prix is now officially the fastest road race in the world, and there's more to come over the next hour. A Super Twins classic and a great Superstock battle, plus another thrilling Supersport showdown. Next, it's the Super Twins, and there are plenty of potential race winners. Lee Johnston has a superb racing pedigree. Poul JORDAN will be a favourite, having qualified in pole position. And Jamie Coward cannot be discounted. He's also on the front row of the grid in a class in which he's had plenty of success. Joe Loughlin on bike 36 will be another rider expected to be at the front. It's the final action of what has been an enthralling day at the Ulster Grand Prix. The Super Twins are poised and ready to go.
They've gone. Good start from Lee Johnston. Great start from Poul JORDAN.
And Christian Elkin on bike 17 just tucking in behind JORDAN. Here comes Lee Johnston along the fly kilo. How close do you want it?
Lee Johnston really means business in this final race of the day. These smaller bikes often suit him, but there's a lot of action going on there, Dave.
And a lot of action going on with Joe Loughlin. He's just slotted into second place. We were just talking about Johnston and Elkin along the flying kilo, and through he came. Maybe not the best start that Jamie Coward wanted, but he is running with the pack.
And there is a good view of that pattern of Joe Loughlin looking back from Poul JORDAN. He was first through the speed trap, Poul JORDAN, and he's now starting to pull away at some rate as we go back to row 2.
Maria Costello, bike 84.
On pole position. That front row includes Sandy Berwick, Dave Walsh, and they're all away nice and cleanly.
It's Maria Costello.
That's a good start for Maria, isn't it?
It is. A little bit of Sandy Berwick was maybe not the best start from him, but he's on the move now. So too, as you mentioned, Paul Williams.
Pattern power bringing Maria Costello down the flying kilo in the lead as we go back to the first wave.
And that lead has just changed with that first wave. Joe Loughlin straight inside Poul JORDAN, and Poul JORDAN now starting to hit back.
Pattern power does the trick for both riders at the front of both waves, but can Poul JORDAN reclaim the lead as they go over Dearsley? We're about to find out. The answer to that was no.
Oh, Joe Loughlin taking it right out, and that might have just stifled his momentum slightly and given Poul JORDAN an edge.
I think that's a polite way of describing it, actually, Dave. I know what it felt like sitting here, and it wasn't my momentum that got stifled.
No, it wasn't. Oh, we're at Ireland. It's Loughlin from JORDAN, from Johnston, from Elkin.
Any one of those four.
Yeah,
any one of those four.
6 as well. You have Jamie Coward to factor in there as well. He's no slouch. He's having a great year on the roads. And Lee Johnston with a fantastic view of Poul JORDAN, who just pushes his nose in front of Joe Loughlin.
So, only halfway round the opening lap, and we've seen a couple of lead changes already, and I think we're about to see another one.
Yep. And who haven't we mentioned yet? Here he comes at the back of the pack
Ian
there.
Locker.
Ian Locker, yeah, through Joey's windmill. What a great sound these machines make. Here we go, a replay of Poul JORDAN.
just on the power, goes straight past. The Pattons have a reputation for straight line speed, but the draft helped, and Jordan just went straight past. Of course, they got Kawasaki power, and he comes straight back at him. He's taking no prisoners, is he, Joe Loughlin? Nico Sweeney not having his best Super Twin outing, and I think that looks like he's pulling into the side.
Out is definitely the phrase there, Richard, yeah. So Jordan's cross, he's going to park up and watch the rest of what should be a cracking Super Twin race.
Michael Sweeney, that's a disappointment for him. He's been going strongly this afternoon.
This is the unmistakable Maria Costello.
On her own, look, everybody's gone. She's pulled away from the rest of the second wave. So is Johnston going to get through into the lead?
And while they're scrapping away, Jamie Coward is trying to hang on for fourth place. That's who we ride with. We have Christian Elkin behind him. Unfortunately, Ian Locker has dropped out of sight. This is Jordan's cross, and they are almost three abreast. But there is room here. I think it's the widest part of the track. Then it narrows again.
He's done it. Loughlin.
Yeah, Joe Loughlin, but it could all change. No, it won't. Not now. They've tucked in for wheelers.
They settle down in the slipstream. We look back from Poul Jordan's bike at that number 34.
And where has Christian Elkin come from? He must have had a cracking run up the hill, and a little glance over at Jamie Coward and a little glance back from Coward to Elkin as Loughlin pushes his nose in front of Jordan. Everywhere you look, something's happening.
See what I mean about cheeky? I wonder why he's got that reputation, hasn't he? Yes. Loughlin back out in front.
Yes, Crazy Joe, he's known in some parts. So Lennon just still in this little battle, this four-way fight. McKnight on bike 64 with James Tadman also looking strong, and Ryan Gibson.
Oh, that's a shame. Who are we losing there?
Paul Williams. That's Paul Williams. So Paul Williams is out, but he'll race again, hopefully on Saturday.
I wonder if Christian Elkin can do again what he did last time. He used the draft really well, didn't he, going up the hill and gained a place on Jamie Coward. Can he pick off Lee Johnston now?
He had a little bit of road to play with on that run up into Wheelers on lap 2.
Yep. But, oh no, it's going to be the other way, isn't it?
Jamie Coward the other way. Jamie
returns the favour.
Yes, anything you can do.
But has he done it too soon? Has he given Christian Elkin another chance? Jordan ahead of Loughlin and Lee Johnston, and then what? It's Coward and Elkin.
It's these five, isn't it? It could change. By the time we get to Wheelers, it could be all change again. And here's one of them, Lee Johnston, on the inside. But
no,
yes,
surely not.
Maybe, no, perhaps.
Yes, I think he is.
No, he's not.
I think he is.
Oh, Joe Loughlin, my goodness me.
Lee Johnston still thought he was, didn't he?
A lot of people are excited about Joe Loughlin. He could be a name that we're going to hear a lot more of in future.
Yes, I'm sure you haven't heard the last of him. It's always nice to see riders coming up through the ranks and suddenly making their name, as Christian Elkin tries to make a name for himself alongside Jamie Coward. Thinks better of it.
Yes, not what Joe Loughlin did, though.
No.
Joe Loughlin didn't think better of it. He took first place from Poul Jordan.
And Jordan now looking at the back end of the pattern. Now, are we going to be all well behaved here?
Lee Johnston in trouble.
Oh no, that's blown the engine, hasn't it? That is goodbye.
Oh, he does know. I was going to say he doesn't know, but yeah. Oh my goodness, what a shame for Lee Johnston.
That's really defused that battle, Lee Johnston, but looking round to make sure he wasn't dropping oil and keeping it well over to the right-hand side. There it is, just a little puff, and he felt it then, didn't he?
You don't want to be Jamie Coward or Christian Elkin at that moment, do you, when you first see that appear?
Well, no, you probably wouldn't see anything else but that. Look, it's just swallowed up in smoke. And it's still running, actually. Shouldn't be, should it, making all that smoke? But that's it. But there was luckily no oil out of that, so it was just internal.
At this moment, Jamie Coward's going, oh no.
Do you think that's all he said?
Something like that.
It'll be very similar to what Lee Johnston was thinking, won't it?
Yeah,
Neil Kernahan.
So Neil Kernahan through here, and everything looks good. The track looks okay. Lee Johnston. There's no buses at this point of the circuit.
Long push back to the hill, isn't it?
Ian Locker with Xavier Denis behind him now. This is a little four-way fight as well, isn't it?
Yeah, Xavier Denis got past chalk on the pattern, so that's good going.
This is how they are at Joey's Windmill. Oh, Jamie Coward into the lead.
That was just slick, wasn't it?
It is slick because that's the first time, or this is the first time, that Jamie Coward has led in this race. So talk about leaving it to the last minute, or maybe not, as Poul JORDAN at Jordan's Cross. Jordan's Pass, that will now be christened.
Well, will it? Jamie Coward's back on it, and Jamie Coward might well have track position. No, Jordan's on the inside.
Inside for wheelers, he's got to yield. Yeah, he has to let him through.
There wasn't much more time left to do that, was there?
May I remind everyone just to keep an eye out for Joe Loughlin at this point as well.
Goodness me. Sorry if we're ignoring this little scrap, but that was very intense, and still is.
It is, very much so.
Here he is.
Here is Loughlin. So Jamie Coward, who was first a moment ago, finds himself shuffled back to third, but we still have the Lindsay hairpin to go. This could be very, very decisive.
They've all been good through here, very polite, and they're still doing it that way.
Oh, Jordan's wide, Jordan's wide, but he has good speed. He's carrying good speed, and because of that, he gets on the power quicker on the exit. Because Loughlin was tighter, he was a little bit slower around there, so
tiptoeing through the hairpin on that pattern. They have a reputation for being unhandy in the slower corners, and if Ian Locker can ride it smoothly, you know that it can be done, but perhaps others haven't got that lightness of touch that so typifies Locker's riding over the years. As we go back to this one, look at this.
Oh, a little bit of movement from Coward. He's not going to do it, I don't think. It's going to be Poul JORDAN who's going to take the win here at the Ulster Grand Prix in the Super Twin class. It is. Yes, 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 yes.
Pole to flag, that's what you want to do, isn't it? Oh, great result for Poul JORDAN. Great result, you've got to say, for Joe Loughlin. I think that's a name made there, isn't it?
It's not over yet. Here comes Ian Locker with Xavier Denis behind him. Ian Locker to cross the line.
He's going to be fifth, isn't he? He's going to be fifth. Ian Locker, yes.
Oh, Xavier Denis not quite happy.
Yes, old Doc's new tricks.
So Xavier Denis then at the Ulster Grand Prix takes sixth place, just behind Ian Locker, with Christian Elkin fourth, Jamie Coward third, Joe Loughlin second, and Poul JORDAN just by 900ths of a second.
Yeah, it feels surreal, to be fair, considering the morning we've had and the few weeks we've come up to. Like, I didn't really think I was going to be here, and we come off at Armoy and broke a couple of ribs and re-broke my hand again, so it was sort of one of them things I was keeping the DL just in case I had to pass a medical, so it's really nice to just reward myself and the team with a win.
Plenty of action still to come from the Ulster Grand Prix. Next, the focus is on the Superstock class as Peter Hickman looks to continue his winning run. It's now the main race day at the Ulster Grand Prix, and the weather has taken a turn for the worse. Miserable early this morning with low cloud on the hills as the drizzle turned to heavy rain. Thankfully, it's clearing up, but the track is still damp. Peter Hickman begins once again as favourite, but Lee Johnston will look to push him all the way, as will Dean Harrison. It's the Superstock.
Wet all around the circuit, wet tyres, no other choices. A few people missing from this grid as we wait for the start.
Yes, no Jamie Coward on the front row, and Lee Johnston, that is not the start he was hoping for. It's the start that Hickman and Harrison were looking for as they blast their way onto the Flying Kilo. We've had to be patient, we've had to wait for some racing at the Ulster Grand Prix today. I think it's going to be worth it.
It's wet, isn't it? It is wet. A lot of issue with spray here. Visibility might be a problem for some of the riders in the pack. Don't expect new lap records to be set today.
No, definitely that won't be happening as Davey Todd pushes his way, wow, right up behind Dean Harrison as they go. And I was going to say tentatively, but I don't think that's the correct word.
No, I don't think there's anything tentative about this. Lauren Hoffman doing well from pole position on the front row. The second waves, we go back to the front of the first wave, and is he going to get past on Dean Harrison?
Dean Harrison has just yielded the position to Davey Todd, but they don't want to be tripping each other up. They have to work together and make sure the man in front doesn't break away. That's Peter Hickman. Here he is at Deersleaf, and look, shadows. The sun is breaking through.
It's too late. He's broken away. Look at that. There's a big gap behind Peter Hickman.
Now this is a look again as hop, skip and a jump from Lee Johnston.
Yeah, just
Derek
got that
Shields,
wrong.
good start though.
Yes, he took a good advantage of that, but this is what I was talking about. Look at the spray already coming up. Think of his visor. I know they've all got pin locks, and the condensation isn't an issue, but this is an issue for Lee Johnson. That front wheel just came right up. He had to get off the throttle, try again. It comes back up again.
It's the rodeo show.
Yeah, he didn't want that. Now he's going to have to do a lot of work if he wants to get anywhere near a podium finish. Peter Hickman already trying to get a drop on Davy Todd. He did a early pass on Dean Harrison to go up into second place, and now can he catch this man?
Well, here we go then. Peter Hickman, Ulster Grand Prix. He's had a couple of wins on the Thursday already. Is he going to start Saturday with a victory as well? And he's pulling and pulling and pulling away from Davy Todd. Dean Harrison is struggling to stay with Davy Todd as they go through Joey's windmill. Is that Michael Sweeney?
It might be. Michael's having he's good in the wet, isn't he?
It is. Just check the sector times. It is Michael Sweeney. He's up into 4th place. David Johnson is also in the picture. So too Derek Shields. That is Johnson and Shields at Jordan's Cross. And I think Connor Cummins in 7th position.
Rooster Trails popping up behind these motorcycles in the wet. It's not easy conditions.
This is definitely the wetter part of the track, Richard. It's on the run up from Joey's Windmill, from Islands really, all the way up to Wheelers. It's certainly wetter there than it was on the other part around by Leathamstown and the Flying Kilo.
But there's a breeze, more than a breeze. I'll tell you what, there's a little bit of a wind, and with that blowing across the track, we could well see it drying out during this race.
Well, we always say that the wet conditions are a great equaliser and everyone tends to be bunched together, but that is not the case. Well, maybe the case for 4th places. David Johnson goes a little bit wide and he gives Derek Shields a little bit of daylight.
You don't want to show Derek Shields an open door. Here he comes. He's going to try and make it. No.
It would be a good move through there from Derek Shields if he was to do that in the wet on David Johnson.
So drying circuit.
But will it stay dry though, Richard? You know, there's the threat of rain in the air, so okay, we are seeing perhaps a dry line appearing down the middle of the road. It's going to be wet for some time.
He's tried again, Derek Shields. He thinks he can do this, doesn't he?
Well, even if he thinks he can do it, he's letting David Johnson know that he's there, and he's giving David Johnson something to think about.
There are definitely dry patches appearing here. We're looking at fairly clear skies up above. Was that somebody with an arm out going through there? Did I see somebody with their arm up, or was I imagining that?
Oh, it was Dean Harrison. Oh dear, Dean Harrison. Well, maybe not the greatest of starts. He was in 3rd position, trailing Davy Todd, but he's pulled over, and here comes Connor Cummins. And Connor Cummins, again, sometimes can be a little bit of a late starter, but once we get the heart going, he can start running with them.
So Hickman's got Davy Todd within striking distance, hasn't he?
Almost. It's Davy Todd with a big gap back to 3rd place, which is now in the hands of David Johnson.
Yes.
And he's done something because Michael Sweeney had the big gap.
Hickey's got a big open space in front of him though, and it is very damp under the trees still, and he must know, he can hear that Davy Todd, even if he's not feeling the pull from the bike in his slipstream, he'll hear it, he'll know it's there.
Connor Cummins, I think, is a man to watch in amongst this lot now, because he didn't have it was a fairly solid start, but now he's up to pace and he's on his way.
Lee Johnston on the back of that little bunch really has his work cut out to do anything about it.
He left himself with work to do. So Jordan's Cross, front runners go through. This is the battle for 3rd, all the way back to that man, number 13, Lee Johnston. And you can see in the wet conditions, when it's dry, as we saw on Thursday, they were taking it right out to the left-hand side at Joey's Windmill. This time,
you need a little safety margin down there, don't you? When you look down, you want to see a bit of tarmac you can run to.
Davy Todd, this is impressive.
He's good, isn't he? He's following Hickman's lines and watching him. He's close enough to see what's going on, but I think Hickey's starting to ease away. They were closer before, weren't they, half a lap ago?
Yeah, well, let's get some context here. Here's Peter Hickman, British Championship regular, British Championship race winner. He's been doing this for some time. Davy Todd, reasonably new to road racing, so therefore incredible that he is running at such a hot pace on this 2nd lap. Derek Shields just in behind Connor Cummins. And David Johnson. Now then, David Johnson 3rd, Connor Cummins is 4th, Shields is 5th, and Michael Sweeney's dropped back to 6th place now.
So Michael Sweeney showed well at the beginning, but now the race has settled down. He's starting to drop off the pace. We're still looking at the battle for the last step of the podium, though, aren't we?
We are. And I think Conor Cummins is going to be a lot closer to David Johnson than he is at the moment.
Sweeney, Shields could go either way. Lee Johnson needs to get beyond them. Those two are going to be scrapping shortly.
Yes, Lee Johnson, as we said earlier, has got work to do, but he is more than capable of doing that work, isn't he? So,
yep, we forget. There we go. Job done, or first part of the job done, through past Sweeney. Derek Shields is the man ahead of him.
Incredibly, in the space of 3.5 minutes, how much drier does this section of the track look than it did on the previous lap?
Lee Johnston wiping his visor. Some of the riders go for tear-offs, and some of them say that tear-offs are more of a nuisance in the wet than they are a benefit. So there's nothing like the back of your glove, is there?
I think as well, we're going to be looking at a lot of riders who will be going off the normal racing line, and Davey Todd right on cue, but that was not what I was going to suggest. It's going to be a situation soon with the tyres getting up to heat, etc., that they're going to have to cool them off in the wet.
So Johnson with Conor Cummins right behind him, right behind him, and the slipstream might work for Conor Cummins going up the hill here. He might be able to slingshot past Dave Johnson.
Dave Johnson, who's come from the Australian winter to the British summer.
Yes, this is it, the British summer. It's all around you, dropping from the sky.
I think Conor Cummins at Jordan's Cross is something to keep an eye on. Here they come, he's lining him up. On the power. Johnson moves across. He's allowed to do that quite safely. But I think Conor was going for that. I think he had him then. It was Honda versus Honda. Lee Johnston still stuck behind this little battle, but he didn't get through, did he, Dave? Look at that. No, he didn't. Certainly, David Johnson pulled away from Conor Cummins. I wonder if Conor frightened himself at going for that line on Jordan's Cross. Possibly. There is a lot of water going across the road at Jordan's Cross. So Peter Hickman coming up to complete another lap with his name in the #1 position on the leaderboard. Peter Hickman has said quite clearly that he likes to lead the laps, because if there is a stoppage, and in this weather there could easily be a rain stoppage, then whoever was leading the last lap is going to be the race winner. Conor Cummins has found his way past David Johnson, has made it into 3rd place. Johnson back to 4th. Davey Todd has long gone through in 2nd place. So Conor now starting to ease away from Dave Johnson, and in 3rd place he's on for a podium. And Lee Johnston just making a move and flying past Derek Shields on the flying kilo. That is the catapult effect of the slipstream, isn't it? It is. Also as well, don't forget, we have to factor in Michael Dunlop, who's on the 2nd wave of riders. However, he is currently in 8th place on the leaderboard. That's quite something for a man with a broken pelvis. Look, 8th place. He's racing against the best road racers in the world, and they're all fully fit. Derek Shields wants it back. Is he going to do it? No, Lee's got that covered somewhere in the murk there. Lee Johnston just defended him off. But it is very fierce in the 4th, 5th and 6th positions. Michael Sweeney is still at the back of this pack, but it's Peter Hickman at the front of it. Yes, and by some margin as well. He was look at that, some margin. 5 seconds ahead on the previous lap, and that gap back to Davey Todd has extended. Here is that 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th place that you were alluding to a moment ago. Can Lee Johnston break his way through? He set himself a bit of a task, didn't he? And can Conor Cummins dive up the inside? Yes, he just gets safely past it. That was just, when you're passing slower traffic, it's like heart in your mouth time, isn't it? Especially at the hairpin. But ooh, that was Mike Booth. And again, we see a drying track. Peter Hickman on the flying kilo. Think about his tyres now. He's not been... Johnston on Johnson. Sounds like a brand of talcum powder, doesn't it? Yes, so Lee Johnson goes through. David Johnson concedes the position. Here they go across the line. Mike Booth in the mix. He'll be wondering what's going on right now all around him. Well, Lee Johnston certainly making up for that little error on the start line, if it was his, or a little problem if it was a clutch thing. But, oh, excuse me? Did you see that? Sweeney? Whoosh. But here's Hickman. 10 seconds ahead of Davey Todd. This is going the way of Peter Hickman, big time. Connor Cummins in third, Lee Johnston fourth, David Johnson fifth, Derek Shields sixth, Michael Sweeney seventh, and Michael Dunlop has just gone through in 8th place still.
So what can Michael Dunlop do? Is 8th place his best hope now?
Yes, it looks that way. It's Michael Sweeney's holding 7th. Of course, even though you're in the second wave, it is still a timed race. You can win for the second wave.
And they are swapping places, this little bunch at the tail end of the top 7.
Yes, still very wet through this pot. We've seen some parts of the other side of the track really from here. It looks drier than it is wet. Here it's wetter than it is dry.
I think that makes sense.
It does. Oh, that doesn't make sense for David Johnson as he concedes a position to Derek Shields, and Michael Sweeney will be thinking, I'll have a piece of that as well.
Derek Shields had a little glimpse of that earlier on, and Davo's just done the same thing again, and that he didn't need to be asked a second time, did he, Derek Shields? Through he went and away he went. Look at this. Peter Hickman is just running away with it there, waving the programmes in the hedges. Because you are looking at a rider on the top of his form there, aren't you, Peter Hickman? I mean, he's as good as it gets. And can he get any better? Has he got any more to give? Last lap, Peter Hickman way out in front. He could just ride around waving almost now, couldn't he?
I think David Johnson was waving now. I don't think he was too happy. Maybe he wants a flag of some sort, who knows. But Peter Hickman, it's going to be win number 3 as long as it all sticks together for him.
I mean, we know that anything can happen and you can get mechanical issues, and we've seen people pull off. Dean Harrison, for example, in this race. But as long as it all holds together, Peter Hickman, touch wood, he doesn't make mistakes, does he?
No, he tends not to. But it has been a masterclass in this, the opening race today. We doubted whether we would have any racing at all here. And that is showboating from Peter Hickman. Yes, he knows this is his. You can sometimes be a little bit premature, but he's got so much time in hand over Davey Todd that yes, you can afford to put on an even better display to the fans than you're doing already.
Peter Hickman very much aware that there are people cowering in the hedges in the rain, waiting for this, and rewarding them as you saw, with a little wave of the front wheel. But it is a formality now for Peter Hickman, this race.
It's been such a display by Peter Hickman. We're kind of forgetting what a great ride Davey Todd has put in as well.
Can't see him in the background now, but as you say, he's really stepped up to this mark.
He's ahead of Connor Cummins. He's ahead of Lee Johnston. He's ahead of David Johnson.
And behind that, there's Derek Shields and Mike Sweeney.
Exactly. So Peter Hickman on his way to the first checkered flag of the day. The sun is starting to come out here at Dundrod at the Ulster Grand Prix.
Lee Johnston, it's a question of what could have been for him, this, don't you think?
Yeah, front row, I think he knows that as they tentatively make their way around. Here is, though, Peter Hickman, the man of the moment, once again at the Ulster Grand Prix. He takes the checkered flag.
Looks round behind him. Well, where have you all gone then? Where is everybody in this race? And the answer is they're 25 seconds almost behind Todd, Connor Cummins and Lee Johnson, just off the podium.
No, you know what? Every time I've ridden this bike, I've won on it. I like it. The bike's been working absolutely mega. You know, Smith's BMW have done a fantastic job. The new S1000 RR's never missed a beat ever since I rode it in the Northwest for the first time. Like I said, we won on it at the Northwest, we've won it at the TT, and we've won here now. So absolutely fantastic. Got away cleanly off the start and kind of picked my own lines where I wanted to be. Davey kept me honest for a couple of laps, and then I put my head down, and away we are.
The Peter Hickman winning run goes on as he takes the honours in Superstock, and that could continue in Supersport, which is up next. The Dundrod circuit high up in the hills over Belfast is the setting, and next it's the second Supersport race, and this one has been declared as wet. Peter Hickman and Lee Johnston are set to lock horns again, as they did in the first 600cc race. The track is drying, so therefore tyre choice could prove crucial. Some are going for full wets. Others have gone for intermediates, which will do well if the track dries up, but will be no good if it rains again during the race.
Well, we have had a rain shower while we were waiting on the grid. We've had a delay. We're back out ready for the start, but tyre choice, once again, a complete lottery.
It is a wet race, of course. Peter Hickman was talking about a slick rear on the first time around, but since that shower, he has, as we've seen, gone for a full wet, and away they go. No Dean Harrison on the front row. Lee Johnston is being mugged once again as they hurtle towards the flying kilo. He is recovering, but it is, look who it is, Davy Todd ahead of Peter Hickman on the flying kilo as they all sort themselves out.
Not for long, though, because here comes Peter Hickman. Lee Johnston made a good recovery there, didn't he? Got off the line slowly. He's up to third place. Davy Todd is now following Peter Hickman.
And Connor Cummins in fourth position. Jamie Coward is up there into fifth, and I think that's Michael Sweeney that's in sixth place as they power their way into Leathamstown for the first time.
On board with Lee. See how the camera makes the distances look bigger than they really are. This is still very, very close indeed.
So Peter Hickman, he keeps on winning and he keeps on leading races at the Ulster Grand Prix. Now this is Lee Johnston coming quickly into the picture. Davy Todd is hanging on to Peter Hickman.
Hickey has got that 675 Triumph triple, and it's still a very wet track, so it was a good tyre choice, but that always seems to have a little bit extra over the actual 600s, even though it's missing a cylinder. I'm not sure if I'm just imagining that, but it always seems stronger when it needs to be strong.
It only had 0.3 of a second more than Lee Johnston in the dry on Thursday night in what was, and I still stand by this, one of the greatest laps ever of the Ulster Grand Prix circuit.
Now then, we've got a top three that's close enough to be swapping places before we get to the end of this race.
Early days, opening lap, of course. It's all about who can stick with who. Can Connor Cummins bridge the gap to Lee Johnston?
But Connor Cummins, as you know, is too tall for a 600.
Yes, as we keep saying, or as everybody else keeps saying, I should say. So this is on board with Lee Johnston as we climb.
I think little flashes on the screen there telling him it's right on the limiter. That's what went wrong on Thursday, wasn't it? He just clipped the limiter.
Oh, Davy Todd's rear wheel just slid out a little bit. He wouldn't have noticed that probably at that speed.
I bet you would. Really, I think you would. And you can see the amount of spray, the amount of work that tyre is doing, having to clear water and grip the track. So wets was the good choice, but although it's cloudy, the rain isn't falling anymore, and this might be another race where it dries out.
Yes, we'll have to wait and see on that situation. Of course, that's what the riders would prefer. They would rather have a completely dry track or a completely wet track. They do not want half and half.
And they don't want to find that they've got wet tyres and a dry track on the last lap of this race, and it's worse than riding on slicks in the rain. That tends to happen. Connor Cummins, I don't think is...
oh, he's still very much in this.
You think he's not closing with Lee Johnston, though,
but he's losing the guys behind him. He's losing SHEILS and Sweeney.
Well, we'll see now as they come to the hairpin and tiptoe round. Please, everybody, best behaviour.
Yes, it was a real duel on Thursday between Lee Johnston and Peter Hickman, of course. A classic race. One that will be talked about for a very, very long time. But at the moment, Lee Johnston not quite close enough in the wet to Peter Hickman as he was in the dry on Thursday. But Davy Todd, yet again, a lot of talk about him in the last year or so.
Davy Todd's definitely...
He's living up to his reputation.
Yes, he's proved a point here, hasn't
he?
Well,
not his
just talk.
The reputation that others have given him,
yes,
not himself.
It's not just talk, is it, about this boy? He can actually walk the walk as well.
So Hickman across the line from Davy Todd. Third place is Lee Johnston. Fourth is Connor Cummins. Then it will be Jamie Coward, Michael Sweeney and Derek SHEILS.
Johnston in third. Is the slipstream bringing him closer to Davy Todd? I think it might be. What Lee Johnston wants desperately is to get up front and do battle with Peter Hickman again.
That's right. That's what we all want, but we'd like Davy Todd to be involved as well, wouldn't we?
So he's about to be. I think. Oh look, we had a few people opted out of this, and now we've got somebody. I just couldn't read the number going through the spray there. But I don't know whether that
was David Jackson.
Was it?
Yes,
tyre
it was
choice
David
or
Jackson.
Something else.
Yeah. So,
all of those people who gambled on slicks, I think, have lost, haven't they?
no, and I'll tell you who's won. All those people who've gambled on staying and watching at the side of the track.
Yep.
Because we had a fantastic Superstock race, and it looks like we're on for another cracker in the Supersport category. And here goes Lee Johnston on Davy Todd. He was 0.8 of a second down on him at the end of the opening lap.
He's come right up behind him now. Wasn't quite close enough to do that at Nearsleek, but he's close enough to be right there at Jordan's Cross. I think this could be interesting.
Yes, interesting. Could be an understatement.
Davy Todd and Lee Johnston. Davy Todd and Lee Johnston. Lee was quicker through that corner, wasn't he? Going through Cochrane's down there. He's faster on that right-hander.
Yep, he can certainly carry speed through a turn. I was expecting Conor Cummins to be a little bit closer than he is right now. There's Xavier Denis, I think it was, that just came through the shot.
He's having another good week, isn't he? Xavier Denis, he's sort of always there in our races, and he's been coming here a good few years and doing these internationals, but he's certainly stepping up this year. There goes Lee under the trees.
Stepping up into second place. So Lee Johnston, can he bridge the gap to Peter Hickman? That's the question. Can Davy Todd reclaim second place?
I was going to say first, he's got to get away from Davy Todd, and that's not so easy, is it? Davy Todd's still got opportunities to come back at him, but not there.
So that's through Joey's windmill. There's still Hickman in vision. Now this is the move.
Just out of the slipstream, and you can see it's like a slingshot, isn't it? It's like you've just suddenly found an extra gill.
And this is how, if you were pillion on Davy Todd looking back, giving Lee Johnston a wave as he goes through. Still very wet on this second lap. Lee Johnston has got something to do. He's 4 seconds at the end of that lap. 4 seconds he has to make up on Peter Hickman. That is a big ask.
It's what you dream of as the race leader, making that kind of break, isn't it?
But yeah, as you say, for anyone, but when that someone is Peter Hickman to make it up as well, that is.
Yeah.
Big battle going on with the Malenko, Padgett's Hondas.
Davy Todd still keeping Conor Cummins behind him.
Just.
This might be helping Lee Johnston get some free air, so he doesn't have to worry about what's happening behind him, and he can just concentrate on catching the leader. But it's Conor Cummins now catching Davy Todd. Here's Lee Johnston. You see, it doesn't look as scary on the screen as it is if you do it in your hire car, does it?
No, exactly. I was going to suggest the track looked a little bit drier this time around, but maybe it is.
No, I think you might be right. Still plenty wet, and all those with wet tyres made the right choice. Still at it, these two then.
Sweeney ahead of Shields this time, so there has been a change for position between those two.
No change here. Peter Hickman on that triumph. Once again, looking completely in charge. Johnston, I think he's got the break, hasn't he?
Yeah, that's well, he just has to wait. Maybe Peter Hickman might do the impossible and have a moment, make a little slight mistake. Conditions are such that that could happen, and he might just drop back towards Lee Johnston. No, I know. Yes, I know. Anyway, Davy Todd is still hanging on. I was going to say Jamie Cowd is still showing in 5th position. He's just out of the picture at present.
And Conor Cummins might just have a little run up on Davy Todd here.
Ooh, now then, that was out to the edge from Davy Todd, so he certainly wants that podium place. He knows he's been passed by Lee Johnston, but he doesn't want to see his teammate Conor Cummins coming through.
I don't think there's any sign of Conor in that shot. There's no sign of Lee Johnston in this one, is there? Peter Hickman. You start looking for superlatives that you haven't used before.
No, they've all been used.
But, you know, it's just an extraordinary performance that you're seeing this week at the Ulster Grand Prix. And these are also extraordinary riders, and yet Peter Hickman's running away from them.
So,
Conor Cummins not in a challenging position as they go into the hairpin. He must be right behind Davy Todd now.
I think the gap, well, it was around 4 seconds at the end of lap 2. I think it's going to be a lot bigger this time between Hickman and Johnston. Hickman coming up.
Just so smooth, just such a nice rider to watch. Peter Hickman, he's making the bike do stuff, but it doesn't look as if he's making it do anything.
So across the line goes Peter Hickman, and he sees the last lap flag. The gap has been increasing between him and Lee Johnston.
All he's got to do now is ride it home.
It's almost 9 seconds. So he's got plenty to play with. Will we be seeing any more showboating from Peter Hickman on this final lap on the Triumph? Swedish still going, yep.
They're enjoying their race, and I'm sure the spectators are, because once the leaders have gone past, you look back and there's a race going on behind them, and that's another reason to be here in the hedges.
6th place this is. Derek SHEILS in 7th. It could be 6th.
The slipstream works so well here, and that pass is almost inevitable if you're close enough.
It's
coming
all about,
onto the kilo.
Yeah, it's all about getting close enough out of Dawson's Bend so you can make the move, and timing your move as well. So, because there's also the chance if you go too soon, they can hit you back.
Well, nobody's going to hit Peter Hickman back.
No.
It is drier, isn't it? Definitely drier. That track has got little dry patches on it. There's water aplenty, but it's definitely drier. There's lightness in the sky above Peter Hickman's head. Look, he's got a little halo going on there.
Which might be concern for the next race, because they could be facing a track that's half dry and half wet. At the moment, wet tyres have worked all the way. It's been wet all the way through. If the race was starting now, they'd still be on a wet tyre, so that has gone to plan. Peter Hickman looking up at us as we give him a wave back down from the helicopter.
There's Connor's chance.
Oh my goodness me, Davy Todd really takes it out to the white line.
Connor's not really close. Oh, mind you, the camera makes it look as if he's a bit further away, but I still don't think he's close enough to challenge.
So out of wheelers, Peter Hickman can still see how wet the ground is. But meanwhile, SHEILS and Sweeney, no you don't, not through Joey's windmill you don't.
They have been enjoying this race as much as we've enjoyed watching it. And Davy Todd looks safe to me.
No, I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure. I don't have your confidence. Lindsay Hairpin has changed so many races in the past.
In the wet, you want to be double careful. You were just saying exactly that. You need to tiptoe around.
Peter Hickman, thank you very much.
Front wheel up in the air. He knows this one's in the bag. He is romping away with another win, isn't he? Just romping away with it. Fastest road racer in the world everywhere he goes, basically.
That's right.
Now
he is. The Supersport lap record still belongs to Lee Johnston.
Not going to change today, is it? But Peter Hickman is going to change history if he keeps this up. He wasn't even on it for the checkered flag, was he?
Is anybody going to stop Peter Hickman today?
Well, that just was dominant, wasn't it? There's no other word for it. He has dominated that race.
Even in tricky conditions.
Well, there's another Supersport race on the cards, and who knows whether Peter Hickman can do that again.
Well, I'd like it to be that way. I'm sure it's not going to be like that all day or forever, but no, the K2 Trooper Triumph by Smiths has been working absolutely brilliant. Again, Dunlop tyres working awesome. Just got a really good feel for it, got a good start. David got away just in front, just initially, and I managed to just slipstream him before turn 1, and yeah, I managed to make a break again. It's really difficult to get a break around here, so to be able to, once you got kind of 2 or 3 seconds, you know you're fairly safe. You can run the lines you want to run, brake where you want to run, rather than braking really deep to try and stop the other guys coming through. So yeah, I managed to just pick my lines and no spray or anything because out in front again, so everything went to plan.
Whether it's dry or wet, Peter Hickman is proving unbeatable at this year's Ulster Grand Prix. Join us again next time to see if anyone can halt his winning run.